Hey everybody, what's good? Jubita back with a new video for you all, where today we're gonna be tackling a topic that a lot of you seem to be very interested in. Is the Leaf Village evil? This is something I've touched on in my past videos, be that Pain's cycle of hatred and his vendetta against the Leaf, or Sasuke's radicalization after learning the truth about his clan, or these two old turds that were at the forefront of corruption and who represented the oligarchy that hoarded all the decision making and political power within the Leaf. These could all be used as examples of the Leaf Village being evil. However, it's not as simple as that. It never is. The village itself wasn't founded on a malicious basis, quite the contrary. So today, I'm going to analyze this question, starting with the reasons why the village was founded, nationalism, and how it leads to misfortune for others. Before we begin, drop a like, and share this video with every single person you've known, ever. Good. Now we can start. Like I just said, the Hidden Village system was founded in an attempt to bring some relative peace to the conflict-riddled era known as the Warring States era, a time when children were thrown into the battlefield as cannon fodder just to die. That's what motivated Hashirama Senju to build a framework that protected them alongside his then best friend Madara Uchiha. They both envisioned a village where they could protect their siblings from all the bloodshed. Of course, as the predestined leaders of the two biggest rival clans of the time, the Senju and the Uchiha, they were both destined to battle. The village was established following a ceasefire when the two strongest clans joined forces, and soon after, neighboring clans in the Land of Fire would request to join this village. Everything looked good on the surface. However, this was just the beginning. The establishment of the Leaf Village gave rise to nationalism, and Madara didn't believe that all conflicts had been truly resolved by then. It's like he foresaw the evils of nationalism. Madara also didn't have any brothers left to protect. That's why Hashirama proposed that Madara become the first Hokage so he could view the village as his family and fill the void left by Izuna. However, Tobirama and the higher-ups in the Land of Fire didn't want that, which is when Madara first had his doubts. It's not that he thought Hashirama would be an obstacle, but he knew that the leadership would remain in firm Senju control, and they'd eventually turn on the Uchiha. He even tried to warn his Uchiha clansmen, but they shunned him, and said that he was just stirring up old conflicts. Madara gave up completely on the idea of the village in favor of the Eye of the Moon plan, though you could say that he predicted some of the civil unrest that'd follow. Madara was most concerned about the would-be second Hokage, Tobirama Senju. Tobirama is the one that strengthened the idea of nationalism in the Leaf Village. He believed that everyone had to put the village on top of the individual or his clan in order to transcend the framework of clans. The problem with that was that the idea of the village meant that it was another us versus them scenario. That meant that it was okay for certain people to die if it meant the protection of order. That means that the village could blame the enemy for any unrest or label them as a national security threat, be that the neighboring villages or even marginalized groups within the village that didn't conform to the oligarchy, like the Uchiha Clan. Tobirama inherited the idea of protecting the village from his brother, but he didn't inherit his compassion. The second Hokage was a lot more pragmatic. He perceived the Uchiha as a threat because he feared them due to their Sharingan and his past experience with the clan. So Tobirama created the Uchiha police force so that he could keep an eye on the clan and ensure that another Madara didn't arise. Not only did that completely remove the Uchiha from the governing body of the village, but it also laid the grounds for the resentment of the clan, as the residents of the village would naturally associate the police force with criminals or other negative connotations. To add on top of that, it was the second Hokage's students that would uphold these extreme nationalist views and also inherit his bias against the Uchiha clan. Tobirama was a product of the era he grew up in, so he was very cautious of the clan and towards anything that posed a threat to the village. and that would eventually devolve into the justification that Danzo used whenever he committed something illegal or unethical. Danzo was a shady politician that was morally bankrupt, known as the darkness of the shinobi. He was the result of the Leaf's extremist nationalism, and he created the Foundation, an organization that was infamous for its underhanded missions and dishonorable assignments, all under the guise of protecting the village, or more like the status quo. All those recruited into the Foundation had to go through emotional conditioning so that they're able to suppress their emotions and follow the mission regardless of how unethical it may seem. Complete authoritarianism. But those were the ways of the shinobi. The Hidden Mist employed a similar tactic. And it wasn't just Danzo. The two advisors, the elders Koharu and Hamura, backed Danzo frequently, since they shared in his belief of using militaristic and secretive approaches to maintain control over the village, whatever kept their oligarchy intact. With Hiruzen in the light, Danzo in the dark, and Koharu and Hamura on the side, that's how they liked it. Like Madara foresaw, this wasn't real peace. Is peace achieved through conflict? Could undermining others really be considered peaceful? This was a broken system, where all shinobi are indoctrinated into being tools for their village's use sake. The shinobi are encouraged to sacrifice their lives just to protect the village. This is seen as a heroic thing. Meanwhile, the oligarchs never set foot into the battlefield. Only the Hokage would on occasion. This meant that all the youth would be used as cannon fodder for the interest of their nations. Like Obito Uchiha, for example, and ironically, Rin Nohara is another example as well. It was this shinobi system that said it was okay for this girl to die or for this clan to be wiped out for the safety of the village. And that's what broke Obito and made him chase the world of dreams. Like Madara said, as long as there's a concept of victors, the vanquished will also exist. The selfish intent of wanting to preserve peace initiates wars, and hatred is born to protect love. An example is the Hidden Rain, which was on the receiving side of a lot of destruction and destabilization from the Great Ninja Wars, which Pain stated were initiated by the Leaf. That's the thing about nationalism. As long as the damage is outside of your borders, then it's not of your concern, even if you've caused some of the destruction. But this could also backfire if the receiving side holds a grudge and retaliates in the future, like the Pain Assault, for example. Nagato's radicalization was a direct result of the Leaf's war, and Danzo in particular, who joined Hanzo alongside his root agents in the ambush that led to Yahiko's death. But with Hiruzen running the show, and Koharu and Hamura backing him every step of the way, who was there to hold Danzo to account? And this oligarchy didn't just screw over foreigners, they did it domestically too. An example is Nona Yakushi, a retired member of the foundation that ran the orphanage, who was also Kabuto's foster mother. Danzo forced her back to work from retirement and coerced her into taking on a mission. Otherwise, he'd pull all funding from the orphanage. And he also recruited Kabuto. Both were trying to rescue the other from the root. But little did they know that they were both sacrifices for the Leaf. It was deemed that they knew too much, and it was set up so that Nona wouldn't recognize Kabuto, so they'd kill each other. This also pushed Kabuto down a dark path, and he'd become a problem for the Leaf in the future. Despite claiming that he was only protecting the village, his actions led to many attempts and vendettas against the Leaf. But that's what happens when you follow a might makes right ideology and face no consequences for your actions. And it wasn't just Danzo. Many of the villagers were nasty and they shared this group bully mentality. The first example that comes to mind is how Naruto was treated as a child due to harboring the Nine-Tails. Everyone treated him like a nuisance, a pest, despite him not having anything to do with the Nine-Tails' wrath. And to be honest, this is just the reality of people. They loathe what they fear, and everyone was in distress from the Nine-Tails attack. So Danzo leaked the truth behind Naruto to make him a scapegoat. This is mentioned in Itachi Shinden Volume 2, and I quote, "Lord Danzo did one thing. He simply made it known that the Nine-Tails that plunged the village into terror was housed inside that child. The people of the village then made their own judgments and decided to discriminate against Naruto. Now the people turn a cold shoulder to the poor child, and by looking down on him, they maintain their emotional equilibrium. Your clan fulfills a similar role to Naruto, isn't that so? So this is admission that both Naruto and the Uchiha clan were used as scapegoats for the calamity of the fox. This wasn't the only incident of group bullying that the Leaf villagers partook in. When Kakashi's father Sakumo abandoned the goals of the mission to rescue his comrades, a great deal of damage resulted due to that, and everyone in the Land of Fire turned on him and blamed him for everything, even the comrades he rescued. This took its mental toll on Sakumo, and he ended up taking his own life, leaving Kakashi an orphan. The great man, once renowned as the White Fang, was now smeared by everyone, even after his death, another life that was ruined by the village. This was a fault with the whole shinobi system, not just the Leaf. They didn't view shinobi as people, but just pawns or tools or weapons. And if those tools were to act in a way that didn't benefit their village, then they were viewed as enemies of the state. And they were either shamed and dishonored like the White Fang, or in more extreme cases, annihilated like the Uchiha Clan. You could try to make the argument that an uprising staged by the Uchiha Clan was bound to destroy the village from within, and that would have left Konoha vulnerable to invasions from the neighboring lands, which would have led to disaster for all those in the village. But the coup d'etat was a last resort for the Uchiha Clan. They didn't want to stage it really, but they felt like their hand was forced. They were isolated from the governing body of the village they helped found. The village elders were never gonna listen to their demands, and they blamed the clan for the Nine-Tails attack long ago. So instead of easing the scrutiny enforced on the Uchiha clan, they doubled down on it. This left the Uchiha that were loyal to the village in a very difficult place. Shisui was a bit more empathetic to his clan than Itachi. He understood their grievances and the systemic marginalization that the clan faced, but he also thought that the coup d'etat would lead to unnecessary bloodshed and could weaken Konoha as a whole. That's why he wanted to resolve the conflict peacefully by using his Kodo Amatsukami. However, that was perceived as crossing the oligarchy. Danzo believed that the Uchiha were gonna remain a problem that had to be dealt with once and for all. Like I said before, people detest what they fear, and the fear of the Uchiha's Sharingan was ingrained into the elders. Danzo took it another step though. He saw it as a source of power that he could exploit for himself, and his fear, distrust, and selfishness led him to steal Shisui's eye, and he would go on to collect the Sharingan from the massacred Uchiha corpses. He did this all under the guise of protecting the village. The novel passage that I read earlier implied that Danzo used the Uchiha clan as a scapegoat for the Nine-Tails incident, meaning that he always dealt with them with bad faith, and he took advantage of the kid that was assigned to watch the clan, Itachi Uchiha. Itachi was portrayed as heroic for his act of slaughtering his kin, despite being a traumatized kid that regretted his actions later on. This was how the system worked. Death or violence was okay as long as it worked in the village's favor and as long as it maintained the status quo. This is why when Sasuke finds out the truth about Itachi later, he directs some of his anger at the villagers as well. The peace that they enjoyed was paid for by his brother as well as by the Uchiha clan. Even if the villagers didn't partake in the decision, it was done on their behalf. It's what the oligarchy decided for them. And if it were to backfire, then that's on them. The oligarchy would remain protected. That's probably why one of the most satisfying moments of the show is when Danzo's running for his life and Sasuke's chasing him down. It's a bit of a Luigi moment here, when Sasuke is hunting Konoha's healthcare CEO when Itachi's cancer treatment gets denied coverage. But anyways, going back to the question at hand, is the Leaf Village evil? Well, I mean, a state isn't inherently evil, but the state will act in the state's best interest, even if that means a great deal of harm or unfair conditions imposed against what the state perceives as its enemy or threat. Bad actors that arise like Danzo or the elders could be seen as evil, but they were a result of a system that the second Hokage put in place. and it was this failed system that inspired Sasuke to declare the revolution in the first place. And a lot of people are disappointed that Naruto and Sasuke don't go through with dismantling the system that gave them so much trouble in the past. Instead, they become part of it, and the two elders Koharu and Hamura are still the oligarchs running the show in Boruto. But that's how the system is set up, so that the ones on top remain on top. So, is the Leaf Village evil? Well, it's literally a military force for hire, so objectively speaking, they're inherently evil. Or at least they've committed some evil deeds. That's just the nature of military nationalism. At home, we're the good guys, but abroad we're not. I feel like in part 1, we saw the story from the Leaf's perspective so that they were the good guys, and then Shippuden came along and we got to see it from a darker angle with Danzo, Pain, and the Uchiha Clan. However, I will say that the Leaf isn't the only source of evil. The same could be said about the other great nations and the Akatsuki as well. But that was the thing with the Akatsuki. They held up a mirror to the Leaf and they were like, hey, maybe you're just as bad. And that's how Pain left Naruto speechless during his famous montage. The question remains, did Naruto and Sasuke solve the world's problems? Did they achieve peace? Well, considering that those two elders are still alive and in power, I'd say maybe not. But anyways, this was an analysis about whether the Leaf Village is evil or not. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I've even made this playlist called The Duality of the Village with some of the best Jubitaz bangers that all relate to this topic. Make sure you drop a like and share the video. And other than that, well, I'm out. Bye.